what I am more excited is about my new trees. I planted 4 new trees, and they are very young, but I planted 2 of them in October, and I have flowers this week, so I'm very excited. I have planted another 2 in the back, and they are growing really well. So tips, I don't have a lot of tips. Just I think that you just learn doing it. I never planted before I moved to the United States, and now I have my own house. I'm planting in the beginning. I don't think that I was very successful, but I think that I am starting to have the plantum. Is that you said? Is it plantum? Then I start understand what they want and what they need, and I am more disciplined to put water and fertilizer. So I think that I'm getting a bigger garden this year. So
that's awesome. Yeah, thanks, Angelica, for sharing. I think that trees would probably require a lot of patience because they grow slowly and you have to nurture them and look after them for the whole time. And they live for such a long time too. So it's a great investment, I'm sure. Anyone else have any gardening skills or interesting stories of things that you've planted in your garden? I know it's been a popular quarantine hobby this past year or so.
She loves plants and she speaks to them all the time. So speak to your plants, talk to them, tell them you love them, and treat them like your babies.
That's probably plants and other things like that that is supposed to help them grow better. And I love gardening. I'm not really an expert gardener. My mom is, like Tiffany's mom. But one other thing that I always think of when it's springtime and when the flowers are blooming and it's a well-known planting seeds, having them watered by the rain in the early spring, and then you have to wait, and then you see the flowers. Meaning related to when you put in a lot of effort and maybe go through some tough, challenging times, to see the fruits of your labor, those beautiful flowers, so to speak, that represent the results of your hard work. And I thought that's when I have been in a meeting or some other public speaking situation, and I've been so grateful for all of the hard work I've put into my Toastmasters practice, just on the off chance that I might need it. And sure enough, even when I was unprepared, I didn't have much to say, I was able to draw on that experience, and it helped bring those flowers of good speaking, so to speak, into practice in my career. So I just thought, what a great theme for springtime and also for Toastmasters. So to get us started on our agenda, we have a few members who will be helping us. And I believe we are still waiting on a few people. David, is that correct? Or should we go ahead with the planned agenda with our joke or inspiration? Sorry, I think you're on mute there. Let's see if I can. Elvis, if that's okay, because I know you're on Zoom, so hopefully we can hear you. But I'll turn it over to Elvis, our timer, who will give us a brief overview of how the timing works for the speeches.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, and good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. It is my pleasure to be the timer tonight. And as a timer, my job will be to time the speeches. There are prepared speeches, table topics, and evaluations. For each one of them, there will be specific time. For example, For the prepared speeches, those will be from 5 to 7 minutes. When we have icebreakers, the icebreakers are from 4 to 6 minutes. I don't believe we have any icebreakers tonight. So the speeches will be 5 to 7 minutes. The evaluations will be from 2 to 3 minutes, and the table topics from 1 to 2 minutes. Now, from each one of them, there will be a signal where I would indicate when the maximum time or the minimum time for the speech has been reached. For the prepared speeches at 5 minutes, I will turn my background to green. When it gets to 6 minutes, I will turn it to yellow. And then when it reaches 7 minutes, I will turn it to red. Likewise, for the evaluations, the green light will turn at 2, the yellow at 2.5 minutes, and the red at 3 minutes. For table topics, the green light will turn on at 1 minute, the yellow at 1.5 minutes, and the red background to when it reaches 2 minutes. For each one of those speeches, there will be a grace period of 30 seconds, which means you need to wrap up and finish your speech. That will be all for me. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Elvis. And at this point, I'll check in and see if our 2 in-person helpers, our grammarian and joke master, are available. Yes, I'm getting the thumbs up from David. All right, I'll turn it over to our joke master if Ali is.
Our joke master isn't here, but our grammarian is.
No worries, we'll do the grammarian, and I'll turn it over to Toastmaster Amber.
Hi. So hi,
Hello.
fellow guests and Toastmasters. I'm Amber Tenise, and I will be the grammarian for tonight. I will be looking for words. I just said So I will be keeping account of filler words such as so, you know, and things of that sort, and buts. And also the word of the day is going to be allergy. So the reason why I picked allergy is because Charlotte, we have a pollen epidemic, and I know a lot of us have allergies towards the pollen. And then the theme is Mayflowers, as well as this week is National Food Allergy Week. So I will pass it back to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Amber. And I will go ahead and put the word of the day in my box because I think our grammarian is in person. It may be easier to do this. And David, remind me, so it's allergies is our word of the day. Okay, and I'll put it with an S. So hopefully that doesn't show up on my next Zoom meeting and people will be very confused. We'll just hope that my name reverts back to Vanessa Waller and not allergies for my next Zoom meeting. All right, thank you so much to our grammarian. And I think because we are still waiting on our joke master, David, so we'll go ahead and get started with our speeches. And this is the part we've all been excited to hear. It's our prepared speeches, 5 to 7 minutes. Our Toastmasters have rehearsed and prepared these. So I'll introduce our first speaker, which is Toastmaster Balut. And Balut is just tearing up the trail with his speeches. He's done several speeches here at Queen City, and he's participated in the speech contest. So it's always a great time listening to Balut speak. And Balut, I will give you the stage. Let's give him a warm welcome.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Dear fellow Toastmasters and honored guests. How many of you have either a Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or TikTok account? Raise your hand. How many of you have posted keep your hands up. How many of you have posted something in the last month? If you have, keep your hand up. That's great. How many of you have posted something in the last week? Keep your hand up if you have done so. How many of you have posted something yesterday? Keep your hand up. Nobody. That's that's what I thought. So tonight's speech for me is about creating a social media presence. I have all those accounts that I've listed: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. I don't have TikTok. But I am what you would consider a bystander for the most part. I just go in there and scroll. And if my friends represent the population, 95% of people are like me. But I know there are a lot of benefits to posting regularly on social media. And I have had that goal for myself for a very long time. And it's not just for social media. I wanted to create a blog so that I could share my thoughts with the world. And I knew that with that mission, I could become a better communicator. I could write better. I could have a content library, and people could be more familiar with my work. At the same time, that would help clarify my thinking and help me become an expert in a defined field. I knew all those benefits, but something was still blocking me. And I couldn't quite put my finger on it. I bought a domain once, and I created a website. I built it from scratch. I coded the entire thing. But when it came to the hard part of writing something and putting it out there, I got so overwhelmed. I had questions like, what if no one reads it? What if no one likes it? What if it's crap? What if it doesn't amount to anything? What if I can't write? What if I can't come up with any ideas? So when I saw this challenge in the Toastmasters pathways of dynamic leadership, I thought, okay, this is a signal from the universe to make a leap and do something about this. And at the same time that this challenge was up for me, another idea popped up, which was called Ship 30 for 30. It was a challenge created by a guy named Dickie Bush on Twitter. And the whole idea is you ship a 250-word essay every day for 30 days. So what that challenge does is it simplifies this mountain of a task of I want to start a blog to something very concrete and small, and bring together a community of people who want to do the same thing. And it makes it okay to fail. It makes it okay to publish crap, garbage, knowing that you get good by publishing consistently. So after having that mission for 5+ years at the top of my list and not doing anything about it, the stars aligned with Toastmasters and this challenge, and I signed up. And I published the first day about a random story from the day prior on Twitter. It was 250 words, and I got my follower list went from 10 to 60 immediately. I could not believe it, and it had a pouring of likes, and mostly because I was part of this community, but it felt good that I wrote something. It wasn't perfect. I knew it wasn't perfect. It was short, but it meant something to some people. And my sister reached out to me. A couple of other friends reached out to me and said, "Hey, we want to see more." And my doubts started to fade away slightly. They weren't gone, but they started to go away a little bit. And then the next day I did the same thing. I just told a story from the day before. And then the next day I did that again and again and again. And I stringed together 10 or 15 days of consecutive writing. This was more than anything I have ever done before. And my follower list, which is a vanity metric, I know, but it mattered to me, was going up, and it was a reinforcing mechanism. So I fell off the boat at one point, but there were accountability partners, and there was a community that normalized that it's okay if you miss a day or two. It's okay to not have any ideas, and you could lean on them for support. And that was beautiful, and it helped me get back on the boat. And I did not have 30 essays, but I had way more than I otherwise would have had I not signed up for this experience. So I have 3 lessons that I drew from this experience for myself, and I want to share them with you. The first one is start where you are now. I had 10 followers. I had all the doubts that came with that. What if no one cares? What if no one reads? But I had to start where I am. I thought for the longest time that it was too late to join Twitter, that all the audiences were amassed and created already, and I was so behind, and I could never catch up. And that's okay. And now I'm accepting the fact that it's okay if I don't catch up. It's enough if I find one person that I get to build a relationship with, and that turns into a friendship. The second one is provide value to your audience. I could tell a lot of things about a lot of random thoughts I have, but I wanted to make it useful and helpful to whoever listening, whether that is 10 people or 60 people or more. Otherwise, people go away. And third is keep publishing. It's similar to Mayflowers. If you stop watering, they stop growing and become beautiful, and stop becoming more and more beautiful. And it's similar to Toastmasters. You just got to show up, give a speech, however imperfect it may be, and keep going. Thank you. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Balut. Excellent speech. And I loved how you talked about the importance of persistence and keeping going. I think it's really amazing that people are able to publish all these articles on platforms like LinkedIn. I've read several LinkedIn articles, and they're always pretty interesting. And I just have so much admiration for the creativity that goes into that, because it's hard when you're staring at a blank sheet of paper. It's easy to feel like, well, I don't know what to write. And I came up with something last week, but what am I going to do this week? And let alone every day. So that's quite impressive. Thanks for sharing those thoughts with us. And we have one more speaker tonight who is also our club president, none other than David Jones. And David, I think you're giving a speech about Toastmasters. Is that correct? Or is it part of your Pathways program?
Right.
Yes. Awesome. Cool. Well, I will go ahead and turn it over to you. And thanks so much for stepping in as a speaker somewhat last minute. We'll look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you. What if? What if you give a speech and it's really bad and you're really embarrassed? What if you sign up for a role and you drop the ball and you're really embarrassed? Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Greeting fellow Toastmasters and guests. These are questions that all Toastmasters ask themselves. Am I going to do good? Am I going to fail? And it's questions that we ask ourselves over and over again. With so many new members and guests, I wanted to address these items. The first one, of course, was, what if I give a speech and I do really badly? Am I going to be embarrassed? Currently, I'm a member of 3 different Toastmasters. I'm a member of Queen City and then also 2 other Toastmasters online. And I've seen a lot of speeches and I've given quite a few speeches, and I've never once seen a bad speech. It's really not a thing. I've never gone, oh my God, that was such a bad speech. I can't believe that poor guy. It's just not a thing, because when you're given a speech, you think that you're nervous, your butterflies, your voice is quivering, you're sweating, and you think, wow, I must be doing really badly. But the audience doesn't hear that. And I used to think they could until somebody told me to record one of my speeches, and I recorded it, and I was quivering and I was nervous, and I listened back to it and I was like, oh, nobody can hear the nerves. They can't hear the butterflies. Recently, I also gave a speech where I missed a whole section, where I skipped it and I went back to it and I kind of pieced it all together, and it was kind of a hot mess, but it still worked. It was fairly entertaining, but to me, it was horrible, but nobody else really noticed. It wasn't a bad speech, but it wasn't a great speech. My point is, it's really hard to give a bad speech. I mean, you really have to try, so don't be scared of giving a bad speech. It's just not going to happen. The other thing is, if you happen to be able to give a bad speech, do you want to do it here or do you want to do it at work in front of your friends, in front of your coworkers, in front of your bosses? The chances are you want to do it here because that's what Toastmasters is. Toastmasters is for you to practice your public speaking and become a better public speaker. And you're surrounded by like-minded people, people who are going to encourage you and support you through the process. Many of them are in the same exact position as you are. This is the place for you to practice your speeches, and don't worry about being bad because there is no bad. The other issue is, what if you sign up for a role, you drop the ball, and you're embarrassed? This actually does happen. It's happened, I think, to all of us. It's happened to me. At one point in time, I was a general evaluator. I've been here at Queen City for almost 2 years. About 3 years ago, I had joined Queen City, and I was starting the process, and it was my first evaluation. And I came right here where I'm at. There was about 20 people in the room. The timer's over here, and general evaluations are 2 to 3 minutes. About a minute and a half into the speech, I was out of material. I was in a panic. I was already sweating and nervous, and now I'm looking for the green light, and I'm even more scared and nervous. And it was just a complete failure. And at some point I said, pew, 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 I'm done, and I sat down. And I literally did pew, pew, pew. Imagine how nervous and scared I must have been to have to do that. And as I sat down, defeated and upset, I noticed that in the front of the row, there was a girl who looked back at me. She did the car wreck thing. She went, and that did it for me. I was so embarrassed and humiliated, I quit for about a year. But what I took away from that now that I'm back as a member was, number one, we focus too much on the process, on the rules of Toastmaster, meaning you have to give a speech in 2 minutes. That's desirable, but in the beginning, we want you to be comfortable. We want you just to get up and give a speech. I've seen people give evaluations for 5 minutes. I've seen people give evaluations for 1 minute. It's whatever you're comfortable with, but work towards the goal of the 2 to 3 minutes. And for me, I was just focused on that green light. There were so many people I didn't want to not do 2 minutes, and that was the wrong path for me to take. The second thing is that lady looking back at me with fear in her eyes for me. I don't know what she looked at me like that for. But if it were to happen again now, I would look at her and say, yeah, that was really bad. How do I fix it? Because every speech, every role, we should evaluate and say, how can I do better next time? How can I give a better speech next time? Even if you give a good one, you're always evaluating yourself. And that's what I would have said to her. Help me become a better speaker. Don't look at me with pity. Now, right now, I'm not scared giving a public speech. The only thing I'm scared about is the internet going out. Because when the internet goes out, the meeting becomes a hot mess. And that's really, if I'm sweating, it's because of the internet. It's not because of giving a public speech. And this is part of the process. The process is every single week, like Balut said, coming up, giving a speech, or participating in a role, because it's every single time you do it, you're going to get better and better and learn more and more about yourself and about your public speaking abilities. But you'll never be bad at any role, at any speech. It's just part of the process for your goal is to become a public speaker. And I would agree with Amber. There are a lot of allergies out there. My car's full of dust, and that's just my attempt to get my word of the day. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, David. And very creative way to work in that word of the day at the end, and very good advice. I can't thank you enough for being so candid about your experience as a Toastmaster. We've all been there. We've all been that person who's like, oh no, what did I just say? What did I just do? But you totally showed that anyone can continue, can persist, can keep going, and they will see the fruit of their labors. And now, of course, you're our club president. So that just goes to show if you just persist and keep going and don't let it discourage you too much, then you'll come out on top. Thanks, David. All right, I will go ahead and ask for a timer's report for our 2 speakers. So I'll turn it over to our timer, Toastmaster Elvis.
Madam Toastmaster Bulud, make it at 7 minutes and 24 seconds, and David 5 minutes and 58 seconds. They both qualify.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So I think, David, you may need to do the polling, if I remember correctly, because I don't think I'm able to edit the names on the polls. So if you don't mind doing the polling for us, that would be great. Thank you. All right. Well, with that, we get to move into the next part of our meeting, which is a chance to practice impromptu speaking. And this is our table topics. And today we have Toastmaster Julian, who's also our Sergeant at Arms, coming up with some table topics questions that we can all volunteer to answer. And we only have to speak for 1 to 2 minutes. It'll go by pretty quickly. So with that, I'll turn it over to our table topics master, Julian.
Thank you, Vanessa. I will be your table topics master this evening. So, and just to kind of rephrase, it's table topics is just a random question, and it's kind of generally like a 1 to 2 minute answer. And for guests, we don't really hold you to that time, like David was saying in his speech. It's just, it's just to participate. So it's just a very fun section, and it kind of goes along with the theme of the meeting. And I'll just ask a few people questions, and people can volunteer, or if no one volunteers, I'll call on someone. And we kind of like guests to participate if they want to. All right, so first question, do we have a volunteer? And I'll also put them in the chat for Samuel.
Our guest here would like to try one out. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, who'd you say?
Yeah, our guest would like to give it a try. It is Jacob.
Okay.
Jacob, he's come stand here and he'll ask you a question. Try to answer it in 1 to 2 minutes. No stress.
All right, the first question, what is your favorite thing about spring and why?
It's a good question. I would have to say my favorite thing about spring is the weather. Every day you can kind of expect something different. Spring can either be a nice, beautiful day, very relaxing, and you can kind of wear whatever you want, whether you want to go shorts and a t-shirt or you want to wear a sweater or pants. You kind of get the best of both worlds with spring because you just never know what you're going to get. You get rain, you get nice sunshine. And for me, it's always just been a season that I look forward to throughout the year. In addition to that, it's also when I have my birthday, which is coming up in two days. I turned 23, which is kind of hard to believe. So I always look forward to May, just because it's always a fun time. And who doesn't like their birthday and spending and celebrating with your friends and family? So those are 2 reasons why I really enjoy the spring. In addition to that, my life has always revolved around sports, and spring usually means soccer season. And for me, that is just the best time of the year, and nothing beats getting to play with your friends and teammates out in the spring weather, enjoying the beautiful game.
Awesome answer. You seem like a natural speaker. All right, do we have a volunteer for the second question? Okay, Samuel, you want to do the question? All right. Hold on, I will type it in the chat and then I will tell everyone. Okay, so the question is, do you have any vacation plans or somewhere you would like to go? Very nice. Yeah, I have not been to either of those places, so it'd definitely be a cool trip for me as well. I've never been to Europe. I've actually never been out of the country, so hopefully I will be able to do that at some point. Jamaica, that would be very nice. Thinking about going somewhere down there for my honeymoon next year, so Jamaica sounds very nice. Not the USA? Have you been to the United States before? Awesome. Well, all of those are very cool places to visit, and I've been to none of those except for the United States. So thank you, Samuel, for participating. All right, so I'll do one more and then I'll ask Vanessa if we have time for another. So my next question, well, do we have another volunteer? Natalie? All right. Next question, do you prefer to do indoor activities or outdoor activities, and why?
Oh my gosh, I am definitely an outdoor person. If I could live outside, it would be heaven. As long as it's warm, though, that is the caveat. I'm a sunshine baby. I have actually taken during quarantine the elliptical out of the house into the backyard to ride the elliptical under the sunshine when it's warm. And I enjoy being outdoors because I get energized by just the sounds and energy of nature. Even being outdoors when it's raining is fun if you're just carefree, going with the flow. I do my dance classes outside. So I feel like for me, it's a space where I can let loose, recharge. Also, many people do not like being in the heat or warmer weather. So it gives me a little bit of alone time, which is nice when you're in the house with several people. And the one person, call him a person, Oliver, my dog, does like to come outside with me to do yoga. So we do spend a lot of time outdoors, and we actually walk 3 times a day, but it's because I get energized from being in that outdoor environment and having the natural sunlight. So that's my happy place.
Awesome. It definitely sounds like you knew the answer to that question. And I would have to say it depends. Depends on the weather and other stuff, but definitely this time of year, it's nice to be outside. All right, Vanessa, do we have time for one more?
Yes, we should have time. Yes.
Okay. Do we have another volunteer? All right, Angelica. Next question. Have you ever, let's see, are you allergic to pollen? And if not, is there anything you are allergic to? And how has it affected your life?
Well, I am one of those lucky person that doesn't suffer from allergies. Neither my kids and neither my husband. So we are very lucky that we don't suffer of pollen or any allergy of food or anything. So this time of the year, when it's spring, I really enjoy open the windows all day long. And it gets a little bit dusty, the house, because the pollen, and it starts to get everything yellow. But I really enjoy it, the smell of the spring and in the morning. So no, I don't have any allergies or any, and I have been very lucky in that way. And I think that I have seen people that have really their life kind of changed based on these allergies and based on the words went away, but I have been one of those that definitely enjoy the fact that I can be outside without any problem to be that. Thanks.
Got it. Yeah, that's very nice. Pollen doesn't usually bother me too bad, but I don't know, occasionally I feel like it bothers me. But I'm also lucky that I'm not allergic to animals, because like my whole family is allergic to animals. They can't even be inside with cats or anything for too long. So anyway, do we have time for one more, or are we gonna go on to the next section?
We do have time for one more, Julian, if someone else wants to volunteer. Yes.
Okay, do we have any other volunteers?
Looks like maybe Amber raised her hand, or maybe I missed that.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
Amber's gonna do one.
Okay.
All right.
All right, last question, Amber. So have you ever done gardening? And if so, tell us a little bit more about your garden. And if not, tell us what is something you'd like to grow that you could have, unlimited amount of.
So I just started with but something that, so I've never been into gardening. I've never had a garden before, but something that I would like to grow, maybe money. I mean, you can't go wrong with money. Well, you can, but I mean, I know that money being grown would be very convenient for me. I mean, I don't really have money issues, but having more, I probably could travel more. I probably could buy my grandmother a house. I could probably combat these allergies towards this pollen, going to the doctor more for that. Yeah, I would say money, just growing that. I think it would make life a little bit more easier.
Awesome. That's a good answer. I think we would all love to have that. So, all right. Well, that wraps up table topics. I will now turn it back over to Vanessa.
Thank you so much, Julian, and kudos for your creative use of the theme of the night in your table topics questions. Had some really interesting ideas shared there. And before we move on to our evaluation portion, I did want to ask for a timer's report for the several different table topics that we just heard. And I'll turn it over to our timer, Elvis Lopez.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Jacob came out at 1 minute 15 seconds. Samuel chatted for about 1 minute. I didn't know when to start recording, but it was around 1 minute. Natalie, 1 minute 21 seconds. Angelica, 1 minute 22 seconds. And Amber came out at 51 seconds. 51 seconds, 57 milliseconds. They all qualified.
Thank you, Elvis. And David, I guess if you're able to do the poll, got all the names, quite a few this time, which is awesome. All right, well, with that, I will transition us into the final segment of our meeting, which is when our speakers get to hear some feedback. And this is our evaluation portion. And to guide us through our evaluations, I will turn it over to our general evaluator, and that would be Toastmaster Angelica. So I'll turn it over to you, Angelica.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. So this is the evaluation portion of the meeting. It was divided in 4 sections. The first one, I'm going to introduce our evaluator. The second, I'm going to ask a timer report for the evaluation. Third, I will evaluate the meeting as a whole. And finally, I will ask the grammarian report. So first, I want to introduce and I want to give really kudos and a lot of points to Natalie, because Natalie is going to be our evaluator for the night. She volunteered to evaluate both speeches. So I'm very impressed that Natalie, that you can do this. So please go ahead and give us your thoughts and your wonderful comments about the speeches that we heard tonight. Go ahead.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests, and thank you, Angelica. You're very kind. I wanted to first celebrate both Balut and David because they jumped on stage at the last hour, and they were not scheduled to speak this evening, but they both stepped up to the plate. And I'm always so impressed when speakers pull speeches out of their back pocket. I hope to have this skill, and so I love watching them just rise to the occasion, and both delivered incredible speeches this evening. I'm going to start with Balut's evaluation. So I particularly loved how you engaged us from the very beginning by having us raise our hands, and then instead of putting them down, you had us keep our hands up, keeping us engaged if we were participating in that activity, and seeing we were visibly able to see one another and how each of us was participating on social media, which I found to be very interesting because we got to know one another better through the engagement exercise that you led us through. And I thought the topic was very relevant and relatable. So I learned for sure through your enthusiasm and the tangible lessons that you gave us. You were very enthusiastic and you were speaking with your hands, which I found was very helpful in making gestures when you were walking us through point 1, point 2, point 3. You had really nice vocal variety as well. You demonstrated doubts and you expressed doubts that we all have perhaps when we're going to share something vulnerable or deeply personal to us on social media or in any public avenue. So I appreciated the emotion that you conveyed at each of those touch points. I also loved how you inspired us to show up and keep going, which I thought was great. And you were live in the room and we're here on Zoom, so I thought you had great projection. I would say 2 builds to continue improving this speech is potentially to incorporate a prop such as your phone, which could be a nice way to demonstrate the social media aspect and relatable, and then to use it as a call to action at the end, because you mentioned your followers and growing your audience. So you could have led us to a particular platform where we could follow you. I know I was definitely curious to see what that 250 word story was, and this was an opportunity to grow your audience. So that would be 2 builds to continue growing in this particular speech. Thank you for sharing with us this evening. Okay, and I know tonight's a little different, so should I just move into David?
Thank you. Yes, Natalie, thank you. I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead and give us, thank you for your speech, your evaluation to Balut. And this, yes, please go ahead and give us your evaluation for David.
Thank you. David, great job engaging us in a different way. I hadn't been asked the question of what if before, and I found it an interesting way to start by having us start to reflect on our own what ifs. And then I liked how you've incorporated the good evening, fellow Toastmasters and Toastmasters following those reflection questions. I think that is an art, and remembering to greet the guests and sandwiching that in between such an interesting beginning, I found compelling. I like that you shared with us and revealed about yourself. So you told us you're part of 3 different Toastmasters clubs, which clearly reflects because you had an excellent speech and you reassured the audience. You put to bed a lot of the hesitations that we may have as speakers or even as members taking on roles. And it brought to light the humanity. So I like the connection that you made with us by revealing some of those doubts and vulnerabilities that we all share, and particularly telling us your story and how you stepped away for a year because of that one moment, and inspiring us to continue to keep going. I think something that you always do really well is your humor. You're really funny all of the time. And I thought that was a strong point. I would have strengthened the end. I know you tried to sneak in the word of the day, and so you strung it in along there and you added a bit of humor, but I would have packed a little bit more punch, just reinforcing the message by including a call to action, such as, encouraging us to sign up for a role next week or to sign up for our speech or our icebreaker if we've never done one. That could have been a great addition. And then perhaps adding a bit more vocal variety into the speech would have helped. But all in all, I thought it was a really great speech and encourages me to sign up and to continue to move past some of my fears. So thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. Excellent evaluations. Again, you encourage me because I want to repeat kudos for you to take this role of to evaluate both the speeches. They were very strong evaluations. You give us strong points about their speeches, also areas where they can grow and make it better, those challenging areas. Thank you for that. I totally agree with all your comments about the evaluations. I would say that the theme, additionally to the theme of the night, which is the flowers, I want to add that it was very motivating meeting. Is for me, I know I have a lot to keep growing, and I see people like David and Balud and Natalie and Elvis and Vanessa that you take always the role to push us and motivate us to keep trying. And I know that for you guys, as Natalie said, they took the role in the last minute to do a speech. It put the bar high, and I have one of those moments that what if, and I think that just happened tonight, what if I said something that is not the right thing? But I feel like these examples is pushing me to keep working and keep trying and be better every time, and trying to join these meetings every week. So I am going to, before going with my evaluation, I'm going to ask our timer for his report.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. As you said, this has been a terrific night and one of a kind. Natalie did evaluation for both the speakers tonight, and for Balud, the evaluation came out at 2 minutes 56 seconds, and for David at 2 minutes 27 seconds. So you qualified double time. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you for the timing. All right, so let's keep talking about the evaluation of the meeting. First of all, great hybrid meeting. I think that it's challenging what we're doing, some people there and other people here, and we appreciate that you guys has been very flexible to allow us, to some of us, to stay at home and make it happen there. I know it's challenging, but I think that every week I have seen that the meeting is better and better. We respect technology. We respect timing, perfect timing. I think that we started on time. Then we have speech preparations. Again, extra points to our speakers for put the bar so high for us, and we will reach it. Organization of the meeting, I think that we, in general, we follow all our organization, although I think that we miss our joke for the night. We were waiting a little bit, but which is fine. The introduction, I love the fun fact about May, Julian. This was a great introduction and didn't know anything about it, so that's great to learn about that. Our president, I love how he introduced the meeting and always give a warm welcoming to all the guests. These really, and I'm saying by experience, the first time that I joined, I think that makes me wanted to join the next week and the next week. So thank you for that. Our Toastmaster Vanessa, like always, is fantastic. I love the subject. I love plants. So flowers go really well with my plants. I love that. You always are inviting people to talk in the beginning, invite us all to share a little bit about the fact of the flower. I love the metaphor that you did, the comparison that you did between flowers and the Toastmaster. I think that it was very smart. Thank you for that. We respect the performance of the duties. I think that we all assume the role in the order that we suppose, and we were prepared to complete our role. We at some point we have to switch the order of the meeting because the technology that was perfect. So we then slow the meeting, and we were able to keep moving with it. Our timer report was very detailed. I love that you got the G's and the yellow, and I don't think that you got the red, the R with the red, because we didn't get to see it, but that was the great element in there. Our grammarian, thank you for the word, allergies. I think that we use that word, so easy to use and really work very well with the theme of the day. The introduction to the speakers were great. Balut speech, I love that it gives me some value and a message to my life. So you did it, you left a message to me based on your speech. And in David's speech, what if I give a speech? That's what I ask myself every week, but I'm going to do it, I promise. Thank you for being so inspiring to us. And I believe that I kind of covered everything. Oh, one more thing, table topics. Julian, thank you for the topics that were great. And I think that was very thoughtful from you to add the comments to Samuel, so he feel involved. I think that was very thoughtful, and I appreciate that. I think that hopefully Samuel appreciate, and he will be back next week with us. And I think that probably concludes my evaluation. And I think that I am going back to you, Toastmaster. Vanessa.
Thank you, Angelica. Excellent general evaluation. And I think at this point, our remaining member will be our grammarian, who will share how we did in terms of our filler words and other things. I think that's the only one left at this point. So I'll welcome up Amber. Hi, Amber.
Hi. So this was a great meeting. I thought the speeches were amazing, and I did keep account of the filler words, as well as did everyone use the actual word of the day. So Julian, you used 5 us and 1 so that was out of place, and you actually used allergy. David, you used allergy, did really good with the filler words. I did not hear any. Vanessa, you used allergy, and you did not use any filler words. Turk, I only heard 2 us. Jake, you had 2 and 3 ahs. Natalie, You had 2 ahs and 5 ums. Myself, as I was up here, I had 3 uhs. I actually used allergy. Angelica, you used the word allergy and you said about 26 times and 5 times. And is it Elvis? Okay, so you used twice and just 1 time. So everyone did pretty good. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amber, for your very thorough grammatical evaluation. It's always good to be reminded of what our clutch words, or crutch words, I should say, tend to be. Thank you. And at this point, we are all waiting to hear who our favorites were for tonight. And I think, David, I might turn it over to you to announce who our favorite speeches and table topics and evaluations were. So I'll turn it over to you.
We'll start with the easy one. Our evaluator of the night was Natalie. So she did both of us, so congratulations, Natalie. Our best table topics for the night was our guest, Jake. And Jake, we have a little thing for you.
Thank you.
The nice thing about being in person is you're able to give the rewards. Now, as far as best speaker, I was going to vote for Balut, which would have made it a tie. Therefore, the two of you have to decide what was your favorite speech. And he's not looking at you. Was it Balut or me?
I'm a they both were so good.
All right.
That's a hard one.
I'm going to call it tie, but you've never received a best speaker ribbon, so I want to give you this. And then also want to know, how was your first in-person speech?
My first in-person speech, I remember being here. I'll just come up.
Okay, that'll be easier.
I remember being in this setting a couple of years ago when I first came in as a guest, and it had buzzing energy, 20 people, lots of clapping. It definitely wasn't that, but it is good to be in person and be able to move, open your arms, and project to an audience, to a room, rather than to this screen and just be confined to this space. So I recommend, if you feel safe enough, to come and check it out here. And I also want to give a shout out to Tiffany, who signed up to be a member this past week. So she joined as a guest last week, and she's now a member. So we look forward to hearing from Tiffany in the near future as well. So let's give her a round of applause.
Thank you, guys.
I want to hand it back over to Vanessa if you had anything to finish out with.
Thanks, David. Well, really the only thing I can think of at the moment, and of course we'll turn it over to our club officers at the very end, but I was looking at next week's agenda and it looks like we still have the role of Toastmaster open. And I know there are a few members who maybe put off doing Toastmaster, or maybe they think it's really difficult. And I promise you, it's not as hard as you might think. Even though it seems like it keeps coming up throughout the agenda, it's really not too bad. And I think if you've done a couple roles, you're definitely more than qualified to try out the role of Toastmaster. So in the spirit of David's speech, as he was encouraging us all to go for it, even though we may not be 100% confident yet, I just wanted to encourage our members to think about doing a new role that maybe they hadn't thought of before, including Toastmaster. And it's okay if you mess a few things up. I've definitely done that many times. So don't feel like you have to be perfect, but it's a great experience to get outside your comfort zone a little bit. And with that, I guess I can ask if there are any announcements from other officers before we close.
I would like to just add to those words of encouragement from you, and basically add to them, asking or continuing encouraging all of the members to sign up for the roles. If you have any questions in regards to pathways or how to get on board as a new Toastmaster, what kind of instructions you need in terms of understanding how the meeting flows, or what steps you need to make in order to proceed joining or actually getting your path selected, please contact me. You can reach out to my email, elvis.lopez@gmail.com, and we can coordinate sometime during the week that we have available so that we can go over any information. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thanks, Elvis. Do you mind putting your email just in the chat box in case people want to just maybe copy and paste your address right away before they forget? And thank you for offering to help. It's great to have you as our VP of Education. Elvis really helps our members with knowing how to sign up for speeches. It's a little bit of a learning curve when you first join. So if you're not familiar with pathways, Elvis can help you get familiar and get comfortable with it. So I'd encourage everyone to reach out if you have any questions. David, are there any other announcements?
Well, when you're talking about being Toastmaster, Angelica had a really big smile, so I think she's on the fence of doing it. She's really close. And we have a video on our YouTube channel on how to be a Toastmaster. It's very easy. But if you're uncomfortable at this point in time, that's fine. But you just had a big smile. I thought maybe you were almost there.
I'm getting there, not yet.
Okay.
I try.
All right.
At the end of next week. But
Sounds good.
I will try.
Well, this is 7:35, so I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting, and we'll see everybody next week. We have, as of right now, 2 speakers. We have Bailey and I believe Natalie. Are you a speaker next week? Okay, so we got 2 speakers already, so that's perfect. So we're off to a good start.
And David, for the May theme, the May flowers theme, I just want to show you guys my flowers. Because I did get some for